The English seaside resort of Weston-Super-Mare recently hosted the National Waterski Racing Championships. The best competitors from across Britain were present, and the intensity of the racing was heightened by the opportunity to secure a place for Team GB at the World Championships later in the year. Waterskiing is a popular pastime, and many will have had a go on a recreational level, perhaps as an activity on summer holiday. But it's a fair bet that most won't know too much about the sport, and in particular the racing aspect.
So the fascinating thing about the sport is that we've got these boats going very, very quickly, up to 100 miles an hour, with a skier on the back. It's a team sport. You have a driver, an observer, and the skier, and each of them have an equal part to play, because unlike powerboat racing, without the skier on the back, you've won nothing. You have to go over the finish line with the skier intact.
Essentially, competition format sees boats and skiers racing around a set course over a number of laps or period of time. Here at Weston, the feature race will be run over 50 minutes, so it's an endurance event requiring huge physical strength and fitness from the competitors. Each team comprises 3 members: the boat driver, the observer, and of course the skier. The roles of the driver and the skier are pretty self-explanatory, but what about the observer? Sitting in a rear-facing position on the boat, the observer is a crucial link between driver and skier. It's their job to convey the skier's instructions to the driver, warn of any approaching boats, and to give constant feedback that will help the skier pick the best racing lines.
The main thing of the observer is to keep the skier on the ski and keep the driver under control. They normally have red mist and horns coming out, so trying to keep the balance together is very difficult, but if you get it right, you get results at the end of the day.
The driver and observer will have a two-way radio system between them so they can convey what the skier wants to do, because the skier has to be in an upright position throughout the entire race. So it's not like powerboat racing at all. There's much more involved than that.
With the noise of the boats, it's sometimes difficult to hear, so we do use hand signals between the driver and the observer to keep things under control as well.
Teams use high-performance powerboats to pull the skiers along at speeds in excess of 100 miles an hour. They are specialised bits of kit. A Formula One twin-engine rig can cost upwards of £20,000.
They're specifically built for this kind of water condition, where it's very rough offshore, so they all have bow tanks which they can fill with up to 300 litres of water.
Basically, the boat we can load up with water to make it heavy to flatten the water out for the skier, and we've got tabs on the back as well. You know, generally use the tabs quite a bit because we can pick them up and go a lot faster acceleration than what you are trying to dump the water. So, you know, but we've got it all there, we can use it.
Given the high speeds involved, safety equipment is of paramount importance, and there are stringent rules for boats, skiers and crew. Helmets and life jackets are compulsory, and especially on a chilly day off the Somerset coast, dry suits are always a good idea. Other equipment includes harnesses, handles, lines, bindings, and of course the skis themselves. In terms of technique, what you see here is quite different to conventional skiing, where a single handle is held out front. In waterski racing there are 3 handles. 2 of them are wrapped behind the body and held in position with one hand, while the other holds onto a 3rd handle in front. This is called the wrapped position, and crucially it gives the skier more control at high speed. In Britain, racing is run at a network of regional locations throughout the country, with meetings organised and promoted by various clubs. Competition is open to men, women and juniors, with different classes depending on what type of boat the teams are using.
Formula One is the big guys. These are unlimited power, effectively, behind a 21-foot boat. So we could be talking about speeds of 100 miles an hour, over 1,000 horsepower pulling these skiers. Formula 2, which is they're much more contenders because it's much more affordable, is up to 300 horsepower. These guys will do 85 miles an hour. They're no slouches at all, and they won't be far behind. And then the Formula 3s is the entry level, really, 150 horsepower, very much more affordable for families. They could use the boat throughout the weekend as well as using it for racing.
While the majority of British water ski racers don't do this full-time and have to hold down a day job, the level of professionalism and hours put into training and preparation is nothing less than impressive.
Yeah, it's been a busy winter training and a very early start to the season, sort of training in February, March time. Very cold this year actually, but the training seems to have paid off at the moment.
Myself and one of my other competitors, Jack Lynch, who we had a few months in Australia, just trying to get a head start on the competition. The weather's a bit warmer out there and it was a bit cold at home to want to go get in the sea, so yeah, we had a good run and hopefully it'll stand us in good stead.
I've been out to Australia over the winter and skied, must have been about a dozen races I'd say, thereabouts. There's all sorts of mixtures of races, lots of flat races, a few rough races, plenty of Australian training as well, and picked up a few tips, so hopefully they'll pay off today.
Have no doubt this is an adrenaline sport that requires commitment and good judgment in equal measure. There's a fine line between not going quickly enough and overstepping the mark, and it's a tightrope that the ski racers have to try and balance every time they go out to race. Just one of the reasons that make this such an exciting sport.
That is quite exhilarating at the start. I feel sorry for the skier sometimes when he gets shot out of the water so fast. He has to have faith in his team to stay behind one of these. It's not easy.
And we'll be taking a more detailed look at National Championship Waterski Racing with extended highlights from Weston-Super-Mare coming up on the show in the next couple of weeks.